Okay, I think we're ready, right? Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this evening to hear more about grade 8 to 9 transitions. Tonight's live stream is hosted by the HDSB School Programs Department. I'm Leanne Rust, and I'm an elementary instructional program leader. Myself and my colleague, Lisa Galley, who is a secondary instructional program leader, will be facilitating the slides tonight. We also want to send a big thank you to our colleagues from our other central departments for joining us this evening. Next slide, please. We're going to begin with the land acknowledgement. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated is on the ancestral, treaty, and tidal lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Mississauga Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Mississauga territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties, and responsibilities and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. The land acknowledgement is also available in French. And before we jump into our overview of the transitions, we want to talk a little bit about our land acknowledgement and upholding the inherent rights of Indigenous peoples. All the work that we do in HDSB, which of course includes our grade 8 to 9 transitions, is grounded and guided by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada calls to action and supporting documents as well as United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. When we root our work in Indigenous rights alongside anti-colonial practices and pedagogies, we reduce harms for Indigenous students and each student in our system. TRC and UNDRIP calls upon education to improve school experiences and to interrupt further harms towards Indigenous children and their families. This intention is embedded in HDSB Indigenous education policy, and this policy is directly in response to TRC and UNDRIP. So as we go to the grade 8 to 9 transitions, we want to recognize the HDSB staff and the importance we have of centering and supporting every student using a whole child approach. This image in front of you shows several areas connected to the whole child, but is not exhaustive list. But I would like to highlight the following. In HDSB, we hold high expectations for every single learner. We uphold the inherent rights of Indigenous peoples, and we embed anti-colonial, anti-oppressive, and anti-racist practices. So this is our agenda for the evening. We're here today because we know that a smooth transition from grade 8 to grade 9 sets every student up for success in grades 9 to 12 and beyond. Tonight, we'll provide a high-level overview of the grade 8 to 9 transition timelines, regional programs, supports, and resources for students and families. Please know that each and every one of our high schools in HDSB has a broad range of programs and that support, uplift, and celebrate every student in HDSB. So there was a school messenger that went out to families that included a link to a Google form to submit a question for tonight's session. But we know, of course, not everybody had a chance to enter their questions. So we wanted to share with you a bit.ly link. So that link will take you to the Google form where you can submit one question or more as well, or you could scan the QR code with your phone. But what we'll do is we'll do our best to address the questions that have already come in, submitted prior to the presentation, but we'll also provide some time at the end of the live stream for further questions. So we're gonna give you about a minute just to get that bit.ly into your internet to find out where the question form is or scan that QR code. as you proceed through the other slides, the QR code will come up on a couple of the slides if you didn't have a chance to grab that. So what we wanted to let everybody know is that a recording of the live stream will be available later on the HDSB YouTube channel and can also be found on the Transitioning to High School Grade 9 HDSB webpage on HDSB.ca. You'll also note when you view the recording, the closed captioning feature can be accessed on the recording. And a reminder, there's that QR code again if you want to submit your questions during the presentation. So before we start to get into transitions, we just want to talk about sort of what is leading up to all of this. And in our schools, education and career life planning is a key component for our students. Even though tonight we're specifically talking about the grade 8 to 9 transitions, which is a part of this process, we want to recognize the ongoing work in our HDSB schools that support students with this process of looking into education and career life planning. Students are always working on knowing more about them, who they are, what their opportunities are, who they want to become, and what their plans are to achieve their goals. So in the Halton District School Board, we believe that every student can be successful. Success comes in many forms. Support is essential for every learner, and that there are many pathways to success. So before we go sort of get into that overview of all those timelines and the great resources, we wanted to show you this table to talk about the staff who sort of support these transitions. So you can see there are a variety of elementary and secondary staff, along with support from our central departments, who some of them are joining us tonight. So we have the School Programs Department, Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Education Department, the Indigenous Rights and Education Department, Special Education Services Department, and the Student Wellbeing Department. And most importantly, supporting our students is family and community. Just on a side note, at the elementary level, the elementary student success teacher is the lead facilitator. And at the secondary level, we have student success leads and guidance counselors. These would be the teachers where you would go with those starting questions. And then if they can't support with those, they'll often direct you to the other support staff within the building who can help answer some of those questions. So we're going to just talk about a general timeline of this grade 8 to 9 transition process. As you can see, there are many activities that occur throughout the school year that support the 8 to 9 transition piece. Most of these events are taking place in the secondary school, but information is communicated through the elementary school or school messenger. I just want to point out a couple things. I mean, there's lots on this list. You'll notice that there's a regional program information night that takes place in October for IB and iSTEM. You'll see that information about course selection for our grade 8s begins in December, and students complete that course selection in January on My Blueprint. And lastly, grade 8 spring orientation events take place in May. So those grade 8s have a chance to get into schools or meet with that staff, see those current students, and find out more about that high school they'll be going to.
Thank you, Leanne. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Galle, and I'm pleased to be with you here this evening. A couple of days ago on September 23rd, you received a school messenger as a grade 8 family member, a parent or guardian or caregiver, which provided you with some important information that allows for some consistent communication about the grade 8 to 9 transition process. This included an overview of our regional programs for HDSB students, including those programs with grade 9 entry, as well as those that have later entry in grade 11 or 12. Some key timelines for grade 8 to 9 transitions, which Leanne just summarized, as well as a variety of supporting resources. And that messenger, in many ways, really kicks off a year of key processes related to grade 8 to 9 transition. We wanted to mention that if for some reason you did not receive the school messenger, it would be helpful to reach out to your elementary school to ensure that you are getting those communications. So in terms of grade 9 entry into our HDSB regional programs, again, in the messenger you received on Monday, the chart included an overview of all of the programs offered in the HDSB. And you may have noticed, if you looked at that chart carefully, that those processes vary depending on the program. Some of them have direct entry, where students would go directly from grade 8 into the equivalent program in grade 9. An example would be French immersion. Others involve consultation and discussion between the elementary and secondary school, and of course with the family and student. An example would be the locally developed program. And others involve a very specific application process with timelines that must be adhered to. And those would include our ALP, IB, and iSTEM programs. We wanted to mention that we do get lots of questions about advanced placement. And advanced placement is actually not a regional program in our board. It is offered at 4 specific secondary schools, and students have to live in the catchment of one of those schools in order to attend the school and participate in the AP program. For families that do live in those catchments and may be interested in AP, you will learn more about the advanced placement program at the grade 8 information evenings, which will come up in November. And certainly families will learn more about that when their students are in grade 9 and 10 as well. Tonight's live stream specifically will focus on programs that have entry in grade 9. So we're going to start with the ALP program and International Baccalaureate. So ALP is a 2-year program that happens for students in grade 9 and 10, and it really is designed to meet the challenge of the IB program, which specifically happens in grade 11 and 12. The IB diploma program is a comprehensive program that's internationally recognized and provides a unique enrichment opportunity for the students that choose to participate in it. IB diploma candidates must take a subject from each of the 6 subject groups of the diploma program and complete additional components as well, specifically an extended essay, a theory of knowledge course, and creativity, activity, and service activities in their community. There are 4 schools in our board that offer the IB and ALP program, 1 in each of our regions. And again, this is a program that has an application. That application opens on October 25th, and it will close just before midnight, December 2nd, 11:59 p.m. For families that are interested in learning more about ALP and IB, we would strongly encourage you to attend one of the in-person information evenings that are happening at those 4 schools on October 17th. You'll note that it's a 6:30 start for all school sites except for White Oak Secondary School in Oakville, which will have 2 sessions, one starting at 6 and one starting at 7 o'clock. If you're interested in learning more about IB before that evening, we'd really encourage you to look at the IB page on HDSB.ca, as well as the school's website, and reach out with questions to the school's IB coordinator. We also have the iSTEM program in the Halton District School Board. In the iSTEM program, students are really thriving in a 4-year immersive program that is tech intensive, and there's lots of interdisciplinary study opportunities that are connecting those STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and math. In the iSTEM program, learning is paired with project-based opportunities and mentorship where students are connecting and networking with our community members. Students really work toward developing innovation skills that are related to engineering, design and design thinking, entrepreneurship, and the global competencies that are grounded in our UN Sustainable Development Goals. For those families that are interested in the iSTEM program, again, you'll note that it's offered at 3 high schools in our board. Again, the application opens the same date as the ALP IB program on October 25th, and the application closes again on the same timeline on December 2nd. The information evening for iSTEM will happen on October 24th at 6:30 p.m. at all sites which host the program. And again, for more information, we do have an iSTEM page on HDSB.ca. There's information on each school's website, and you can also contact the iSTEM coordinator. We also have the Community Pathways program. And this is a program for students who are working on alternative curriculum because the student has an intellectual, a developmental disability, or a significant communication disorder. This program assists students in our board really in working toward individualized goals and reaching their full potential while in a high school setting. CPP is a very natural pathway for students that are enrolled in the Community Pathways Elementary program at their elementary school, with a focus on teaching to support independence and preparation for life beyond high school after the age of 21. The CPP program will have 2 virtual information sessions happening on November 19th and November 21st at 7 o'clock. The link was provided in the messenger. These are repeat sessions, so families need to only attend one of the sessions. And again, you will see a listing of the HDSB secondary schools which offer the Community Pathways program. For more information in advance of the information evening, the virtual information session, please reach out to your school's Community Pathways elementary teacher. And then we have French immersion. So the French immersion certificate has very specific requirements, and students that are coming into the program typically have already accumulated 3,800 hours of French instruction. The program allows students to take 10 credits in French in their high school career, 4 of which are in the French language, and 6 which are subject-based courses also taught in French that can vary by school. Students ultimately earn a French immersion certificate in recognition of these 10 courses that have been completed over their high school career. Students who continue to be enrolled in both our French immersion and our core French programs until grade 12 may choose to take the Diplôme d'études de langue française, or the DELF exam, that's offered by the French Ministry of Education. And this is a very intensive exam that's based on self-selection of proficiency levels, where students can ultimately earn a diploma of proficiency that it really attests to their language acquisition journey over their educational career. And for more information, we'd really encourage you to connect with the secondary school, the guidance team, to learn more about the French immersion program offered at that school. The locally developed program. So our locally developed program really focuses on cross-curricular, community-focused, experiential and project-based learning that's there to help students meet their specific needs in literacy and numeracy skill development and to work toward individual goals. You'll see all of the things that students work toward over the course of their time in a locally developed program. They're working toward their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. They're enjoying hands-on learning. They are closing gaps in literacy and numeracy, working on curriculum expectations that meet their needs, and really improving their confidence and engagement in school. You'll see the 5 schools that offer the locally developed program in grade 9 and 10. And entry to that program involves consultation with the student and family, along with the elementary special education resource teacher and the secondary special education resource teacher. Next, we have the secondary gifted cluster. So our students in secondary gifted cluster are a congregated group of students who have an identification of giftedness. And these are happening again at designated secondary schools that you see there on the screen. In their clusters, students will be in class with a diverse range of learners and given the opportunity to have curriculum that's differentiated in its breadth, its depth, and its pace to provide a very enriching experience for students who are in the cluster. Students will have that cluster both in grade 9 and 10 courses, as well as in some of their senior grade 11 and 12 courses. And just an important note that for the secondary gifted cluster students to be part of this program, they must be identified through an IPRC as being gifted. For more information about this program, we would suggest that families connect with the elementary homeroom teacher or their elementary special education resource teacher. In general, when we talk about supporting students with IEPs, we want all of our families to know that all students with individual education plans will have supported transition planning as they move from elementary to secondary school. So the regulation that you see on the screen there speaks to the fact that students absolutely will have a transition plan that helps guide them from secondary school beyond to post-secondary options. But we want you to know that that transition support also happens as they transition to secondary school. And that comes in the form of support and ongoing communication between the elementary special education teacher and the secondary special education teachers. And they will do everything they can, really starting at this time of year, all the way up until the end of the school year, to ensure smooth transition for every student who has an individual education plan. We also want to acknowledge the support that we offer to multilingual language learners who are grade 8s moving into grade 9 programs. So you'll see that we have a differentiation here between our center schools and our resource schools or itinerant support schools in the Halton District School Board. They vary a little bit in terms of the stage of learning English that the student is at, as well as the variety of courses and programming and supports that are offered. And you'll see again under each a listing of the schools that offer that particular program. We want to make sure it's clear. Sometimes we talk in our educational speak that ESL is English as a second language and ELD is English literacy development. Both programs offer rich and supportive language support for the students that are part of the program, where students are receiving support from their ESL, ELD teacher, depending on the program they're in, but also, of course, from all the other support services in the school as well. For more information about families whose students may be going into an ESL or an ELD program, we would encourage you to connect with your elementary or your secondary ESL teacher. And now moving along to our grade 8 high school information evenings. So typically taking place in November at each HDSB secondary school, you will see that probably in a couple of weeks, we'll have our dates posted on Transitioning to High School Grade 9 webpage. And it will also be communicated by your elementary school. So you will know for the schools that your elementary school feeds into, that's the terminology we use, when those information evenings will be. We would encourage every grade 8 student, as well as their parent, guardian, or caregiver, to attend these information evenings. So while we have limited time tonight in terms of sharing all that there is to know about grade 8 to 9 transition, by attending the information evenings, you will hear detailed, specific information about the programs and supports and opportunities that each of those schools offer. You'll have an opportunity to tour the school, to meet staff and students that are there, to learn about their program and course offerings, hear about the rich variety of extracurricular and leadership opportunities that are there for students, and of course, have your questions answered. And sometimes we do have families ask, should I bring my grade 8 student to this? Absolutely. We hope to see you as well as your grade 8 student at the information evening. I also wanted to highlight a couple of things about our graduation requirements for students that will be entering grade 9 in September of 2025. So you may have heard that this year for our current grade 9s, we have some new graduation requirements that have come into effect. Some of those changes have included the introduction of a mandatory technology course in grade 9 or 10, a compulsory course that falls within a science, technology, engineering, and math STEM grouping, and some changes that are to come for these students in the years to come, including a financial literacy grad requirement that will be part of the grade 10 math course. I wanted to let all of our families know that are watching tonight that those changes will also be in effect for those starting grade 9 next fall, the fall of 2025. In terms of our graduation requirements, I think many families know that one of our grad requirements in Ontario is to earn a minimum of 40 community involvement hours, completing various activities in the community that are of a nature or a beneficial nature to those who may be in need or in support in our community. And I wanted to make it clear that our current grade 8s can start to accumulate those hours as early as July of 2025. So essentially, as soon as they graduate from grade 8 and July hits, the summer break starts, they can start to pursue those community involvement activities. If you're looking for more information about community involvement activity criteria, and there are some very specific criteria to be aware of to make the activity eligible, we'd encourage you to check out our community involvement page on HDSB.ca. There's so many pieces that come into the grade 9 experience for families to consider, and we recognize it can be overwhelming. Some of these are significant changes from the kinds of conversations and decisions that have been made up until this point while your child has been in elementary school. So one thing that's a little bit different is that the students will be selecting courses, and that process typically begins in December and continues and finalizes in January of their grade 8 year. So what's important to know is there's different types of courses for students to consider. So I'll start with our de-streamed courses. Currently, our math, science, English, and geography courses are de-streamed. This means that we have all of our learners together in classes. They are not picking a particular pathway in grade 9 in these courses. They are together just as they have been in their elementary years in grade 6, 7, 8, and before. We also have some courses that remain as academic, and every year the ministry has been increasing the number of de-streamed courses, reducing the number of grade 9 academic courses. Now our remaining academic courses are specifically in grade 9 academic French, our core French, as well as our immersion grade 9 French. And then we also have courses that are open level, which means that there is no particular designation. They're suitable for all learners. They encourage participation and exploration. A couple of examples would be our arts courses, our phys ed courses, and our tech courses. Again, there will be lots of support that comes for families, not only through the November information evenings, but also through some of the supporting resources that we'll talk about, as well as our secondary schools visiting our grade 9s and giving resources to help provide more context around these course selections. I did want to mention that we do have 5 regional sites in our board, and the schools are listed there, that also offered the locally developed courses that are part of the locally developed program that I've spoken of already. And again, these are for students that are working to close gaps in literacy and numeracy, and this is an additional type of course alongside de-streamed academic and open courses. When students are provided with their grade 9 course options, again, lots of support will be given by the secondary guidance counselors to help them in their decision making. It's very hard to provide one set of options because different schools will have different offerings and different programs within those schools will have different offerings. But generally in grade 9, students will take English, French, geography, math, and science, and a health and physical education course. And then they will also take electives on top of that. And those elective choices could include art, which could be music, drama, or visual art, technology and the skilled trades, which is actually a compulsory credit that must be taken in grade 9 or 10. Art is also a compulsory at some point before grade 11. Learning strategies, which is a supportive course that can allow students to have the opportunity to focus on goal setting, focusing on executive functioning skills, organization, time management, planning, all the pieces that can help support their success in high school, as well as business courses such as building the entrepreneurial mindset. There are also some schools that offer lunchtime music as a 9th credit option. All of these options will be provided in detail, and secondary guidance will support as students share that information with families and then later come back, usually in January, and enter their courses in My Blueprint. We also have transition. Oh, sorry, I think I'm passing it over to Leanne.
Thank you, Lisa. I might be having some technical difficulties, so just we'll see what happens. So we just want to talk about the grade 8 to 9 transition meetings. This is an important time in the lives of students and families, of course, making this transition from elementary to secondary. And students are often that midst of establishing that identity with themselves, their friends at home, and their school and community. And we know that a positive and supportive transition creates that foundation for a positive well-being and achievement that supports that whole child in reaching their goals. These transition meetings are one way that schools support students with these important transitions from that, especially going from elementary to secondary. These meetings will look different for every school, but will involve parents, guardians, and caregivers, students, and key staff. Further information about these transition meetings will come in the spring from the elementary school. Another part of the grade 8 to 9 transition that supports students with that successful transition is spring orientation. So this provides students with an opportunity to find out more about life in high school, in particular the high school they'll be attending. Overall, the students have a better sense of what to expect when they arrive in that new school community. And on a side note, just like in every class with every teacher and every school, the orientation does look different, but students do get an opportunity to find out more about that school they'll be attending in the fall. So of course that support does not end in grade 8 for these grade 8s going into grade 9. In grade 9, students will continue to have opportunities to connect with peers and staff. As we know, that transition doesn't just stop when you enter through that door of high school, right? So, and this varies, but it may involve things like guidance check-ins, grade 9 events, and student mentors. This is a great opportunity for older students to connect with those grade 9s and talk about what does that whole high school process look like, and then continue to support them as they move along their journey from grade 9 to grade 12. And then lastly, we do have a variety of resources. Some of our resources are coming soon to support students and families. This includes the HDSB Guide to Secondary. In this guide, it provides an overview of courses, pathways, regional programs, and support staff and more. We also have an HDSB Guide to De-streaming. So really, what is de-streaming all about? What does that look like? What does that entail? For our students. And then we have selecting grade 9 courses. So this will outline course and graduation requirements for students entering grade 9 in September of 2025. Some of these resources can currently be found on that HDSB Transitioning to High School Grade 9 webpage. Some you may note a date from last year, and we are currently working on having that updated and being posted soon on that site. So I'm not sure if we have time for this video or not, but what we're going to say is there is a bit.ly link there to this video. And also can be accessed through this QR code. This video provides a small snippet into that grade 8 to 9 transition process in HDSB. It involves a multitude of elementary students, staff, secondary schools, and secondary staff really speaking to that transition and what does that transition mean for them. So that video is available. If you're looking sort of to get that little bit of a glimpse, have a view at that video and you'll see all those great things that are happening at HDSB schools. So as we conclude, we know that it takes a whole education community, educators, administrators, students, families, parents, caregivers, as well as the broader community to support students in successful education and career life planning. Supporting students in this process assists them in making a smooth transition from grade to grade and from school to school as they progress through elementary and secondary school. And that's from the Creating Pathways to Success document. We want to just end on that note, knowing that we're all here to support every student with this transition, and it involves all of us. So we really appreciate you joining us tonight to get a little overview of what this transition process looks like. And then finally, we hopefully your questions were answered if you had submitted them prior to the presentation. I know we do have some time left to address further questions. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pass it over to the team who's joining us tonight to speak to anything that maybe was not noted in the presentation or they would like to address, because some of the questions have come in, and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Leanne. Maybe we'll ask if our members of our other departments are comfortable putting their cameras on, then what we'll do is look at some of the specific questions that have come in, and then we've got our expert group here to help address some of them. I know one of the questions that I saw being asked a couple of times was from families who were inquiring about whether students can specifically apply for both IB and iSTEM. And I know we have a couple members of our panel who will be able to speak to that. So perhaps Jamie or Jude, if you want to jump in.
Sure. So the application process for IB and iSTEM happens simultaneously. And yes, you can apply for both. When accepted, you will have to take one of the offers. And then the other one is automatically rescinded. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Just jumping over to some of our other questions that we've received. I did receive a question about advanced placement asking, is it optional, chosen by the parent, or determined based on the student's grade and performance? So again, as I had mentioned in the presentation tonight, advanced placement is a program specifically offered at 4 high schools in our board. Students must live in the catchment of that school in order to access the program. And yes, it is absolutely the student and the family's decision as to whether that student would access AP courses and/or exams. The programs at our schools do run slightly differently. So if you are a family that lives in the catchment, secondary catchment of one of those schools, we would advise that you definitely attend the November information evening to learn more about what their advanced placement program entails. I hope that's helpful to you. Okay, so jumping over to the other questions, we have lots of them coming in. So just looking at some of the common themes that we're receiving. One of the questions is, as students go from grade 8 to 9, how do students choose the subjects that they want to study? So that's a great question. The secondary schools certainly do lots of things to try to help expose students to the wide variety of course offerings that they have. To some extent in grade 9, there are limited choices because the students do have a number of compulsory credits that they must complete. That does decrease as they go on in high school. They get more and more choice as they go. But schools will make sure that students understand, what their offerings are in terms of elective options, so that students are picking courses that are the right fit for them. So that takes place both at the information evenings in November, as well as visits that most secondary schools will do with the elementary school students at their school, usually in December and January. Great, thank you for that question. We've had a question as well come in about French immersion, the French immersion program. So the question is just around whether every course that students take in secondary French immersion is in French or if some of them are in English. So again, the 10 credit program for French immersion in our secondary schools does allow students every year of high school to have a combination of both English and French courses. Kind of like when I was talking about the number of compulsories, as we go up in the grades, we see more English courses and less French courses in the French immersion program. So many of them are clustered in grade 9 and 10, with fewer in grade 11 and 12, but there are little differences between the schools. And so again, it's important to connect with the secondary school that will be offering a French immersion program that you are interested in exploring. And if our panelists here who are here to answer questions have anything that they'd like to jump in on, as well as they look at the question sheet, please feel free to do that. Okay, I'm just looking again at what else is coming in here. We have a question about what is the difference between the IB and the ALP program. So Jude, I think I'll send that one back to you.
Yes, sure. So the IB is a very comprehensive program in terms of the number of subjects you will select. Grade 11 and 12, you would select 6 subjects. as well as the core, which is the extended essay, CAS, and TOK. The advanced placement AP is a bit different in the sense that you can take an AP in one subject. So you can do AP grade 11 and 12 in, let's say, math, or just physics, or physics and math. So you select, I would say, the exams you would take for that. Okay, and the exams are all prepared outside of I would say outside of the board. Okay.
Thank you. And Jude, we should probably have you introduce yourself so folks know where you're from.
Right. I'm the IB coordinator at Craig Kilberger Secondary School. And just for all the IB centers, we all have a web page of our school within the school website. And if ever you want to contact any of us, you just have to click email or schedule an appointment. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. I see another question that's asking about, is the iSTEM and the ALP program for the same kind of student? So again, I might send this back to Jamie and Jude to share. Is it the same profile of student that would be considering these programs, or are they quite differentiated?
I think both programs are great for all students. Really, like Jude was saying, the AP program is like one single credit at a time, whereas the iSTEM program is a 4-year program that students would take throughout grade 9 to 12. Grade 9 year is like the pairing of 4 different courses: math, science, geography, and tech design, driven through like a project-based lens. And so if that's something a student's interested in, they should try that. And if they just want to get a couple credits in the AP program, then that's the way I would lean.
Just to clarify things, the ALP is the grade 9 and 10, I would say, inverted commas, pre-IB program. It's very different from the AP program. Okay, so that's because they are so close in terms of ALP and AP. Some parents might get confused about the programs. So IB is grade 11 and 12. It's called the IB Diploma Program. To prepare the students, we have the grade 9 and 10 ALP program, commonly known as pre-IB. Okay, and the admission process begins in grade 8. Where you would, and for the iSTEM program also very similar. We have the dates on our websites when the applications will open. We had the dates up on one of the slides previously. So it's all online. You would apply online and then we receive all the applications. Okay.
Great, thank you for that. I see a question as well asking about how a family would know which secondary school they feed into. So Leanne, I might pass that one over to you.
Sure. So there is a tool on HDSB called Find My Local School. And you can go in there and type in your address and it will show you your home high school, also dependent on the program. So for example, maybe your child is in grade 8 French immersion currently. So when you type in your address, it will show you, because sometimes the schools, high schools, you go to different ones for French immersion English, depending on the area you're in. So it might show you both, but there's a legend and a code to help you figure that out. And if not, as course selection starts to come around, elementary student success teachers will be in contact with students and families about the high schools that they're designated to attend. Also, just on a side note, all students will register, majority of students will register for their home high school because the application processes for iSTEM and IB, those acceptances go out after course selection. So we have to have course selection occur, and then things will be adjusted if a child does accept an offer from one of those programs. And I don't know if Lisa if you wanted to attach onto that. And just I did on another question that's attached to this, I did see someone ask about My Blueprint and how you access that. So that's near and dear to my heart. So it's www.myblueprint.ca/Halton. I know I'm giving that information out loud, but grade 8 students just need to connect with their elementary student success teacher. And if they haven't gone on yet this year, because we're only in week 4 of the school year, they will be getting on and getting support with that. But those student success teachers can also support with getting them logged in.
Great, thank you so much, Leanne. Ryan, I'm going to direct a question to you. We sort of had a couple questions just around students with special education needs who have IEPs, regardless of the exceptionality. Just some questions from parents asking what they can expect from the secondary school. So they know what it's been like being supported with a special education resource teacher in elementary. Just wondering, what does that look like in secondary?
Sure, no problem. So when you transition to high school, there will be a special education department head who oversees all of special education within the school. And then because there are so many students that do have IEPs, there are special education resource teachers that your student will get assigned to. And that teacher will go and meet with the student, make sure that they understand what their IEP is all about, and then connect with that student's teachers to ensure that the accommodations are being met and that everybody is aware of that child's needs within the school. Obviously, they would be reaching out to you as well for any feedback or input that you want to have on the IEP. But once you get to high school, the main contact that you're going to have is the special education department head, and then that specific cert who will be assigned to your child.
Thank you, Ryan. One of the conversations that may come up as well for students that have IEPs or those that don't as well is the opportunity to take a learning strategies course in their grade 9 year. This is open again to students with IEPs as well as those without, a supportive course with a rich curriculum that provides that student with lots of great skill development that supports their transition to high school and their success in their grade 9 courses. The course can continue depending on whether the student has an IEP or not, either every year of high school or one other time in their high school career. And again, maybe a course for students to consider as they're exploring their grade 9 course options. We also had another question about guidance counselors. As Leanne said, for My Blueprint, guidance counselors are near and dear to my heart. And the question was around, how does that work? How do I get assigned a guidance counselor? So different schools will assign guidance counselors in different ways. Sometimes there may be a grade 9 counselor. Sometimes counselors may be divided based on last name. But as soon as your student starts high school, they will have a guidance counselor who is their guidance counselor that's there to support them. And guidance counselors in high schools do everything from supporting conversations about course selections to helping with pathway planning, considering their options beyond high school, apprenticeship, college, community, university, and work, as well as supporting students who may be having challenges in their courses or personally, helping to connect them to various supports, special programs, supporting post-secondary applications, scholarships, all the things. They wear many hats in that role. Your students will get to meet guidance counselors over this year at the high school that they will be going to. And of course, as I said, that support will start fully when they begin at the high school next September. I hope that answers that question. There was also another question about locally developed programming. A family was asking about what that pathway and that program leads to in terms of a credential upon graduation. The question was specifically, can students graduate with an Ontario Secondary School diploma if they do the locally developed program? And the answer to that is absolutely. Most of our students in the locally developed program do graduate with an OSSD. And one misconception that we have sometimes about that program is that it is impossible for students to pursue college or university if they start in locally developed in grade 9 and 10. And I can tell you that's absolutely not the case. So grade 9 and 10 locally developed is really there to help support students in having a smooth transition to high school, filling gaps, helping them feel like they are ready for the challenge of high school courses. Some of our students will choose to stay in what then becomes workplace level courses in grade 11 and 12, while others will decide that they want to pursue college level, sometimes university level courses in their senior grades. So there is no pathway that is blocked or stopped for these students. They have every choice just like others do. And they can also take a mix of locally developed courses along with academic and or de-streamed courses in grade 9. So wanted to make sure that that was clear to families as well. Okay, so just looking at some of our other questions here. We do have some questions about transportation. Some of them are very specific questions, and sometimes it's hard to answer because it can really depend on the program that the student is in and their individual circumstances. But generally, the rule for busing is for a student that's living within a catchment of a school. If they live beyond 3.2 kilometers from the school, they will receive a bus. If they live within 3.2 kilometers, a bus will not be provided. So I know that is a different distance than what families are sometimes used to for elementary. Leanne, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 2.6 kilometers for elementary, but it is a little bit of a shift in secondary. When it comes to busing and transportation, again, when you attend the information evenings in November, the staff at each school will be able to, depending on the program and your circumstances, help direct you to where you would find specific information about transportation and what that would look like for your student. We also have a website that is connected to our HDSB website for Halton Transportation, and they can also answer questions that may arise around that. Okay, just looking at some of the other questions that are coming in. I know we're down to about our last 5 minutes or so. Here's a question that we sometimes get asked about when it comes to learning strategies. So someone is asking, does a student need an IEP to take learning strategies? Do they need to substitute another class for it? I addressed this a little bit in one of my other answers, but no, students don't have to have an IEP to take learning strategies. They can take it without one. And again, we encourage students to take it if they think it's a good fit for them. And the second part of that question, again, was around, do you have to substitute another credit if you take it? And the answer to that is no. So students can absolutely delay one of their electives till their grade 10 year. That absolutely can be a discussion that happens with the student, the family, and the guidance team. And there could be cases where all parties agree that it makes sense to have a substitution happen, and that is ultimately a decision of the secondary principal. It shouldn't be assumed that because a student takes a learning strategies course that they will automatically get a substitution of a grade 9 course. Those are very much determined on a case-by-case basis. Thank you for that question too. Leanne, if you're seeing any common questions that I'm missing, feel free to jump in here for us to address. I'm just kind of scrolling through all the ones that are coming in here. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions.
I was just going to say, there are a lot of questions coming in about sort of the description of IB, the description of ISTEM, and, how does that differ from not going to original program and doing other courses? Our best suggestion is to really attend those those regional information nights to hear more about the program, as well as visit HDSB webpage, the IB page, the ISTEM page, to find out more information on what those really involve. Because every program is different, and just sort of investigating that further. So That would be the best advice we can give you for that. And I just wanted to send it out to our departments that have joined us. If anybody wanted to add anything they felt maybe was not addressed, or you did notice a question or you wanted to add on, I wanted to ensure you had that opportunity to add anything or comment or share a resource.
I'm just going to jump in there for a second. I'm from the Indigenous Rights and Education Department, and we support student achievement for our Indigenous students by working with teachers and staff teams, as well as individual students. We do try to connect with as many of our students as possible, and we encourage our students and our families to reach out. If you are an Indigenous student or family and you would like to reach out to us, please contact your school. They'll know how to reach us, or you can find our information on the HDSB website. And we love to hear from both our students and our families.
Great. Thank you so much, Tracy. Jumping back to our questions, and certainly unless our panelists here have other pieces that they'd like to add, we have a question about the amount of work that grade 8s can expect. I'm wondering if this might have been submitted by a grade 8 student or it could have been a parent or guardian. You know, it's hard to answer that question. I think most grade 8 students, in my experience, coming into grade 9, come back and say, you know what, it wasn't as big a jump in the workload as I thought it would be. But I think that's going to depend on a lot of different factors. What's really important for grade 8s to know that might be watching tonight is that the skills and the effort and the commitment that you put in grade 8 is really going to pay off in your grade 9 year. Right? By, you know, doing your homework, by working hard in class, by getting help when you need it, and obviously achieving to the best of your ability, you are going to find that that's going to lay a foundation for success in grade 9. Your high school teachers are not going to feel probably that different from your elementary teachers. They're there to support your success. They're there to ensure that they are providing feedback that helps you grow and develop and reach your goals. They're there really to ensure that you have a strong start to high school. And so again, I think the workload is pretty doable. Is there going to be homework? There's going to be some homework, and there's going to be an expectation that you're working hard in class. And if you have any difficulties, there's going to be lots of support to help you be successful. So just wanted to ensure, hopefully, that I've put some minds at ease around that particular question. Another question was around, are kids supported if they change their mind later about a program or courses that they take? Absolutely. So we know that it is tough when you are 12 or 13 years old to perhaps make choices and decisions for the rest of your life. Luckily in grade 9, especially with our de-streamed courses, we really allow students to explore a variety of different areas. And it's hard to make a mistake in grade 9. If a student pursued a program or a pathway as they move on into grade 10 and beyond and felt like it wasn't really the right fit for them, there are lots of people in their building, including their guidance counselor, their student success teacher, their special education resource teacher, their English as a second language teachers, and their classroom teachers in high school that are there to help them look at other options and get back on a path that feels like the right fit for them. So there's no pressure to have it all figured out, but what's really helpful is knowing all of your options, feeling informed so that you can make the best choice for you at the time. So again, I hope that helps provide some comfort to you. And I'm just looking again at our questions as they're coming in. We probably have time for one or two more. Looking to see some other common themes in terms of what's being asked. Okay. We have a number of questions just around picking courses or programs that are the right fit for your student. and how would different programs help students in the future. So again, all the programs that you've heard about tonight are really tailored to specific students with specific interests and needs that are going to help them explore areas of interest and reach their full potential. Again, who your student may be now in grade 8 might be different than who they are in grade 10 or 11. So we really encourage families to get the information they need, again, through all the avenues we've talked about tonight, to go to the secondary school, to have conversations with the elementary teachers that know your student so well, and to talk collaboratively about programs that might be the right fit for them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, some choices have to be made. But as I explained in my previous question, it's hard to really go wrong. Everything's an experience. And even if something doesn't end up feeling like the right fit, there's always ways to navigate back to other opportunities. So again, I hope that that makes sense to you. And again, I think we have time for maybe one more question. So I'm just looking here. So I'm going to direct this one to Ryan. We have a question around, can a child transition from a grade 8 class that is not CPE to a CPP class if they have a diagnosis or something that is impacting their ability to be successful in their grade 8 class currently? I know that's a specific question. There's probably other things you'd have to know, but thanks for addressing that.
That's no problem. Sorry, can a student transition into CPP?
Yes, if they were not in elementary CPE.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is certainly a possibility. I mean, there is an IPRC process to enter any of our self-contained classes, so they would have to meet the board's criteria of what that meant. So, I mean, you can certainly look. There are on my HDSB, it does outline what that criteria is for CPP. We do have students in the board who are currently in grade 8, not in CPE, who do meet the criteria to be in a CPE class, but for various reasons, the family has chosen to stay in a mainstream class, and they are able to transfer into CPP. So the best advice I could give you would be just to connect with the cert at your current school, and if that was something that you were interested in exploring for your grade 8 your grade 9 transition, then you would connect with them and they would help you go through the process of seeing if your child met the criteria to go into CPP for grade 9.
Great, thank you so much. Ryan's from our Special Education Services Department here at the board as an instructional program leader. I'm looking at the time and it looks like we're at time now. So I really wanted to thank my school programs partner, Leanne Rust, for co-facilitating with me this evening, and also to our entire panel that's representing a number of our programs and supports and central departments in the board as well. We hope that this has been a useful session for you. It's the first time we've done a live stream for grade 8 families, and we really wanted to be responsive to the questions that we receive, and hopefully to help, as Leanne said, to provide you with an overview of what is to come over the year ahead. Please know that your grade 8 students are going to be well supported, and they're going to have a lot of fun this year as they get ready for high school, and there's going to be a lot of learning that goes alongside that. So thank you so much on behalf of our entire team. We wish you a great night, and we look forward to seeing you at some of our future events. Take care.